ऐसा कहा जाता है कि जब भी आप किसी डर्मेटोलॉजिस्ट की क्लिनिक में जाएं, तो आपकी बीमारी को लेके आपको झूठ नहीं बोलना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप तो थोड़ा बहुत झूठ बोल के आपकी बीमारी को छुपा देंगे, लेकिन आपकी स्किन सब सच सच बता देगी। Our skin is a mirror to our deep-rooted health problems. Welcome, Dr. Sonal Shah, for a stimulating conversation on all things hair and skin. Before we dive deep into this very interesting conversation on health and skin, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so thank you for having me here.
Mhm.
I'm Dr. Sonal Shah. I'm a dermatologist and trichologist, and my skin clinic name is Skin MD Clinics.
Mhm.
And so right now, it's located at Villapale West.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Lovely. So, is it true कि हमारी सारी अंदरूनी बीमारियां
हम्म।
हमारी स्किन पे दिख जाती है?
So we can't say sari, but yes, so there are so many systemic diseases, internal diseases that will show some or the other sign on skin. So if you have liver issues, you have kidney problems, on a severe stage, you can have severe skin itching problems. Then there are certain stress-related issues that can show up on your skin in the form of itching and we call it prurigo. So yes.
So most of the diseases that an individual has or a person has are revealed through the skin. ऐसा क्यों होता है? हमारी स्किन क्यों डीप रूटेड जो हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उसे बाहर manifest करती है? What is the reason?
So, see, skin is an organ like any other internal organ. So, whatever is happening in your internal organ, we usually see it via blood reports, right? But again, the way your immunology reacts to whatever things are happening inside the body, the same way skin has an immune pattern, and that's the reason it shows up on your skin.
Okay.
So it's basically your immunology, which works everywhere, right? On the internal organs, on your skin. And that's how it shows up.
Okay. बच्चों में भी ऐसा होता है?
So it's not like all the diseases will show up.
Most of the diseases which show up on the skin, so like adult, also in children, the same symptoms are seen? The same pattern is seen on the skin?
It's different. It depends on the disease. It will change from disease to disease.
और जब हम स्किन की बात करते हैं तो स्किन, नेल्स, हेयर, ये सब उसी में आ जाता है, ठीक है?
Yes.
तो आप जब किसी पेशेंट को देखते हैं तो उसकी स्किन भी देखते हैं, उसके नाखून भी देखते हैं, उसके बाल भी देखते हैं, उसकी आंखों में देखते हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं से अगर कोई छिपी हुई बीमारी है उसके शरीर में तो वो बाहर की तरफ स्किन के द्वारा प्रकट करती है। ठीक। अब जो आज की जनरेशन का सबसे बड़ा बर्निंग इश्यू है एंड हर कोई उससे परेशान है और डॉक्टर सोनल, मैंने ये ऑब्जर्व किया है कि मेट्रोज में खासकर जो लोग शहरों में रहते हैं उनको ये प्रॉब्लम बहुत ज्यादा होती है और ये प्रॉब्लम एक्ने की प्रॉब्लम है, पिंपल्स की प्रॉब्लम है। सो द teenagers suffer from this problem and now there is a new breed of sufferers which are people get adult acne, वो adults को होती है। इसका क्या कारण है?
Again, metro cities versus non-metro, it's not that it's less common there. It's still there, but probably here people are more concerned about it, maybe. So.
Okay. So it is not a metro specific problem. ऐसा नहीं है कि मेट्रो में पोल्यूशन ज्यादा है, लोगों की लाइफस्टाइल अलग है, स्ट्रेस थोड़ा ज्यादा है, लोग सोते नहीं हैं ठीक से, and that is one of the reasons why people have more acne in metro than in rural areas.
See, these all are contributing factors. we can say that, like,
Mhm.
they do contribute. Your food, your diet, your sleep pattern, everything, your stress levels will also contribute.
Mhm.
But again, the basic hormonal changes are there in every teenager,
Mhm.
right? Be it here or it's somewhere else.
Mhm.
So it's not that it's less common in rural population. They also get acne. They also
No,
get
so
committed.
so I understand that teenagers will get acne anywhere and everywhere. But the problem of adult acne, is more, to be seen in metros compared to tier 2, tier 3 cities or people who live in villages. वहां पे ये problem कम देखी जाती है.
Yes, that is true. Yes, it's related to your lifestyle. Agreed.
So lifestyle
Yes, has a role.
is a major
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
So does acne have a solution? Is there, when I say a solution, I mean a permanent solution. So is there any permanent remedy in dermatology which can, completely reverse the problem of acne?
See, you need to understand why we get acne. So it's basically the oil glands that are more active, right?
Mhm.
So whenever we treat acne,
Mhm.
we are targeting to work on those oil glands to little, work less and the reduction in acne and severity. But once that stops, suppose you stop getting acne, you still need to follow particular protocol as a maintenance part.
Mhm.
So as you don't keep getting those breakouts again and again.
Mhm.
So there's no medicine I'll give you, okay, you'll never get acne again. That cannot happen.
So there is no permanent solution for
No.
acne. Okay.
There are
Okay.
n number of treatments. You can have completely clear face once you're done with those treatments. But yes, you need to maintain certain basic follow up protocol.
Correct. So there are certain SOPs
Yes.
that one has to follow if one doesn't want the acne outbreak to happen
again and again. Yes.
But how much do you think that a bad gut is responsible for an acne outbreak, or someone who has a major stomach problem? Is that individual more prone to getting acne?
See, there are a lot of research and studies going on this gut health and acne. But right now, we don't have that level of substantial data to say that, yes, it's because of the gut.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's multifactorial.
Mhm.
It's your skin, it's your oil levels, oil glands in your skin, it's your stress, it's your hormones, it's your lifestyle, it's what you're eating. So it's everything. But there's a lot of research going on. Maybe next few years we'll get to know that, okay, there's substantial role of gut health and acne.
Okay. So when I was in my teens and I got acne, I went to a dermat and she told me something which I probably did not understand at that time. She told me that it is very easy to, mitigate this acne problem in women, but it is difficult to control acne in men through medication. And she was talking about some hormones. If you could explain the science behind
it's
it.
the male hormone, testosterone.
Okay.
So that has like very strong effects on oil glands. And
Okay.
that's the reason when you hit puberty and males start getting this big nodular acne, cystic acne sometimes. Like the severe form of acne we see more commonly in teenage or the male. That's because of the hormone testosterone. But then it stabilizes by the time you are 24, 25, 26. And then it's not that severe or, but yes, in the initial phase, it's the testosterone. It's the hormonal changes that's creating this trouble.
Okay. Do you blame dairy for it?
So few years back, we never believed that dairy could be the culprit. But nowadays, after a lot of research and everything, we now believe that yes, it has a role. Again, it's not for everybody. So it's not like that for everyone who is getting acne, it's because of dairy.
So if that individual is lactose intolerant, he will possibly have an acne outbreak?
So if lactose intolerance is altogether a different thing.
Okay.
It's not related to acne thing.
It is not related to acne or any skin problem. Okay. So a few people who have dairy, will get acne,
Yes.
and then there are others who
Who will
will
not.
consume dairy
Yeah.
and they will not get
So
acne.
that's the thing. It's not a like the one rule that applies to all.
Correct.
It's not
Do
like
you think that our gut microbiome are responsible for it?
that. Not really.
Not really.
Hmm.
Okay, because there is so much of research
That's what
happening.
I said. That nowadays, there's like a lot of things happening on the gut microbiome and all the diseases, skin issues, and everything. But I think we're yet to get those
You
big
don't
data on it.
right. So there is no conclusive evidence
Yes.
which suggests
Yes.
that a dairy, if somebody is consuming dairy, he or she will get acne outbreak.
Yes. So in the first go, if somebody is coming to me, I will not tell them to stop dairy and stop sugar and everything like completely. But yes, if the normal treatment is not working for them, we are struggling to get good results with the normal treatments and everything, then yes, we would suggest that okay, let's stop your sugar intake, or let's at least see, sugar to any which ways it does give rise to acne, a lot of sugar. So we tell them to
And why
reduce your
does
sugar intake.
sugar give rise to a lot of acne?
It's the insulin resistance and insulin like growth factors that is involved in. So it's a lot of chemistry involved there, and that's the reason.
But does sugar create inflammation in the body?
Yes.
And
That's
is that
the
one of the
reason.
reasons why
Yes.
people get acne?
Yes.
Okay. So I was around 45 years old, at that
Mhm.
time, and I started having whey protein. I would have around 1.5 scoop of whey protein after my workout. And the kind of acne outbreak that I got at the age of 45, it was so scary. It was so bad. And the acne were so painful. So that is what, got me thinking that there is something in dairy. It took so much time for the acne to heal. So the moment I stopped taking protein shakes, the acne problem got resolved on its own. So there is some connection somewhere, but again, it doesn't happen to everyone.
Yes.
It doesn't happen to everyone.
Yes,
It happens to few, and then there are people who just don't get it.
Yes.
So can we conclude that this whole research of food intake vis-a-vis acne outbreak is still at a very nascent embryonic stage?
Yes.
And a lot of conclusive evidence is still awaited.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any standard operating protocols which you would want to tell our audience, very basic things that they can follow if they get an acne outbreak?
So don't treat your acne by yourself, I would say that. So
Okay.
people try a lot of home remedies, and then sometimes, see, it's not like it's not going to work. Even if you leave acne just like that, it will heal on its own in few days. But there is a difference. So like for everybody, it won't have a same course. So for say, suppose even if I do not apply anything on my acne, I know this is going to settle down. This is not going to leave me any mark, dark pigmentation, any scar. I know that, but it will not apply to everyone. So there are people who will get few acne, but those acne will leave you scars and deep pigmentation and marks like that. So you need to know your acne pattern. So when you know that you get pimples, it heals on its own, but it is leaving marks and scars, you need to go to a dermatologist and get it treated. Because once you get those scars and pigmentation, it's difficult to treat, and it takes a lot of time also to treat. So treating acne when it comes is the best thing to do to prevent further complications like the scarring or pigmentation. So that is one thing. Again, there are people who come that they apply some home remedies and the pimples are gone. If it is working for them, it's well and good. But it will be only 10% of them. Rest of them will need some help, pharmacy-based product, medicated products to get rid of it.
Okay.
So that is one thing. There are a lot of people who try all these online availability of chemical solutions and peels and everything. Sometimes they land up in complications because of that. So it's not always safe to use things that are available online on your own. Rather just take right guidance and then do
Right.
it.
So what you're
that
saying is
one
that
thing.
don't self-medicate,
Mm.
but go to a professional, go to a doctor, a physician who understands the root cause of the problem and then
Yes.
administers the right medication
Medication.
or an antidote
Yes.
to mitigate the problem.
Yes.
Right. So, from acne is my next logical and again the most common question that everyone has is about pigmentation.
Okay.
And these days, pigmentation again is a major problem. Everyone has some or the other kind of pigmentation issue. What do you think is the reason? So, say a decade ago, did people have this kind of pigmentation issues then also?
Yes, it
Okay.
was always there.
Okay.
It's just that people are more conscious now.
Mhm.
The social media has made people aware.
Mhm.
You are in front of your camera all the time, and you keep looking at your dark spots or pigmentation or uneven skin tone. It's not like that it has all of a sudden come up in last 10 years. It's not like that. Whatever hormonal changes, whatever sun exposure that was leading to pigmentation was always there.
Okay.
Right? So it's not that it's something new. It was always there. Maybe people are more aware because of, yes, a lot of information available online, and that's the reason. One. Now, talking about pigmentation, it's an umbrella term. There are many kind of pigmentation, and with different reasons. So suppose you get a pigmentation after pimples, post acne pigmentation. That is different. That's easy to treat versus a pigmentation that we call as melasma, or that's a hormonal pigmentation, usually more common in females, but yes, we do see it in males also. That's more of hormonal based and sun exposure, because of the sun exposure. It's very difficult to treat in the sense, yes, we can reduce the pigmentation, but it's difficult to maintain the results. Okay. So melasma is something chronic, recurrent thing that once you stop doing anything, you don't apply your sunscreen regularly, everything, it will come back. So there's no cure for melasma. Suppose somebody comes up with post acne pigmentation, I know that I'll tell them, okay, this is going to go, don't worry. But with melasma, it's not like that.
But why does melasma happen?
So that's because of the hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and sun exposure.
Okay,
These
both
are the
together.
Both, yes. And so many women get it during pregnancy. But then post-pregnancy, few of them, their pigmentation will resolve on its own or with treatment. Few of them will not. And it will just go on and on and on. Whatsoever we do as a part of treatment, there is no end to it. Like, it just comes back after some time. If you don't follow the maintenance, again, here the maintenance is required, otherwise it comes back.
When you say maintenance, that means...
Maintenance is sunscreen, one. And some depigmenting creams that keeps your pigmentation at reduced levels.
Okay.
But those has to be, like, of course, dermatologists prescribed. It cannot be like something that was given for melasma at the beginning phase is different versus something that we give as a maintenance, because that has to be safer for long-term use.
Okay.
Right. So in the beginning, when we give things, it's for the stronger action, but that cannot be used forever.
But then what do you do to the estrogen and the progesterone hormonal imbalance?
It's not also imbalanced sometimes. It's there. It's normal. Just that your skin has those receptors, more receptors, and that hormones are acting there more and giving you pigmentation.
Oh.
So it's a mix of too many things. It's so that's the reason we are still not able to find a permanent solution.
It is again multifactorial?
Yes.
Okay. Since we spoke about these blemishes and pigmentation that we get on the skin, You said one of the reasons is hormonal disruption, and second is exposure to sun. But there are areas which are fully covered by clothes, and those areas like when a male gets a pigmentation on his back, what could be the reason, for the pigmentation happening on those areas of the body which are fully covered and not exposed to the sun?
So as I said, there's like variety of skin pigmentation issues that we see. So one of it is acanthosis nigricans. So you see darkening on your neck, in your underarms, in your groin area. Usually that comes up when you gain weight. So, or if you have diabetes, or if you are pre-diabetic.
That is,
you
you're
are on the
insulin resistant,
borderline
yeah.
insulin that's the sign of insulin resistance, basically. So many people, though they do not have diabetes, they have this insulin resistance, a pre-diabetes stage, and that is when they start getting this pigmentation in the neck and underarms. Then thyroid issues that can also give you pigmentation.
Okay.
Then there are certain pigmentation issues where there's no reason. It just comes up. We don't have reason for that.
Okay.
So there are certain kind of pigmentations which are like that.
Okay. So Dr. Sonal, whatever we've discussed so far, there's something that I understand, that as far as skin is concerned, there are lot of skin related issues which are multifactorial, and also there is a lot of research happening.
Yes.
And that research is still at its nascent embryonic stage, and one has to wait till the time something concrete comes out of that research.
Yes.
Okay. So pigmentation is one problem which, as long as it is not on the face, a person tends to ignore. But when it comes on the face, that is the time it is like, it is like an alarm bell for him, and then that individual comes into action. But do you think that anyone who has a pigmentation issue should get it examined by a doctor just to rule out something else?
Yes. Yes. So you need to diagnose the reason for it, right? So as I said, there are multiple reasons for pigmentation. Every pigmentation is not same one.
Right.
There's something called as superficial pigmentation. There is something called as mixed or deep pigmentation. And there is, as we talked, acanthosis nigricans that we seen in pre-diabetics. That is actually not even a pigmentation. It's more of a skin thickening. So the upper layer of your skin is so thick that it gives the appearance of thickened skin. So it's less of a pigmentation. It's more of a thickening of skin that is giving that darkness.
Right. Dr. Sonal, these days, the biggest concern, the biggest problem, और जिसको लेके हर किसी को चिंता होती है और मैक्सिमम लोग डर्मेटोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाते हैं, वो है बालों का झड़ना, hair fall.
Yes.
So there are two questions that I have. Males losing their hair, and women also have that problem, but I think this problem is more with the males. And teenagers also these days are having a similar kind of a problem. A, what is the reason? B, I also want to know, is alopecia different from normal hair loss, or alopecia is a disease which leads to hair loss?
Okay. So again, alopecia is a term that we use to say hair loss or hair fall. It does not define anything else. It's a term, it's an umbrella term. Alopecia matlab hair loss. That's the thing. Now there is something called as androgenetic alopecia. Androgenetic means male pattern baldness, that we call, that you see the hairline receding back, or the crown area getting scanty. So that is called androgenetic alopecia.
Okay.
That is because of the testosterone, male hormone, that acts on hair roots, making it thinner and thinner day by day. And then it reaches one stage where it cannot be reversed and the hair root gets lost and you get a bald spot kind of thing.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
slowly progressive thing.
Okay. Okay.
Now, that we call androgenetic alopecia.
Okay.
Then there is something called as alopecia areata. Now, that's a immunology related disorder, like we call it autoimmune. So you get those bald patches on your scalp. It's different. It looks different than the routine hair fall or hair loss thing, but it's like patchy hair loss. All of a sudden, somebody will notice, okay, there's a patch where there's no hair at all. Now, that's an immunity related thing.
So that is an autoimmune disorder?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's called alopecia areata.
Mhm.
So alopecia per se, we don't say it's a disease. It's a terminology that we use to
Mhm.
say hair loss.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then coming to females. Females also get like lot of hair fall or hair loss issue.
Mhm.
Female also get that hormonal thinning. We call it female pattern hair loss.
Female pattern hair
Male
loss.
pattern
Okay.
hair loss, female pattern hair loss. Again, both are because of the hormones.
Mhm.
Females, it's not just one hormone. Again, it's multifactorial: diet, their other hormones, their stress, everything leads to it.
Mhm.
But if you say you see it more commonly in males,
Mhm.
that's because the hormone testosterone. If you see at the age of 50% of the males will have some form of hair thinning or the baldness. Maybe it just started like that. So it's bound to happen. In some, it will be like, it will go like very fast. In few people, it will go like very slowly. In few, it will start early. In few, it will start late. Now, if you have a strong family history, say your maternal side also or your paternal side also, then you are bound to get it
Mhm.
maybe little earlier. Or
So hair loss is also genetical.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
It's genetic and your hormones, of course.
Genetics and hormones.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what can one do about it?
Start treatment at the right stage. So suppose that
And which
you
is the
are,
right stage? Yeah.
So in the initial phase, say when you are at the stage 1 or stage 2 of androgenetic alopecia, that's just the beginning of it. And if you start treatment, what you are trying to do is you are halting the progression of that alopecia.
Mhm.
Suppose you don't treat it, your hairline will go back. It'll keep receding up to a certain point.
Mhm.
And then the only option left is hair transplant because the hair roots are gone.
Okay.
So once hair roots are gone, there is no medication, no oral treatment, nothing can get back hair there.
Okay.
Okay. So androgenetic alopecia, it's a slowly progressive thing. In just beginning of the stage, what we see is just the hair thinning. So those hair were thick. So you see that volume on your hair, your hairline is perfect. And then maybe after a few years, you see that, your hairline is going back or these angles are going back in males.
Yeah.
And you see like very thin hair in the front, though this is thick, this is thinner. So that's the stage where if you start proper medications and everything, you can reverse that one. And then, of course, you have to maintain with medication the results.
Do you think it happens to people who do a lot of dieting or who keep on experimenting with their diets,
So diet, those who are like on diet and everything, they'll experience more of hair fall. That's again because of nutritional deficiency, because
Okay.
of variation. Your B12 goes low, your vitamin D is low, your ferritin is low. So that's the reason for hair fall. Like
Mhm.
you're losing 100, 150, 200 hair per day. So the overall density goes down in that case. So there are two different kind of alopecia. The one is the androgenetic alopecia, where your hairline is going back or your angles are going back, you're losing hair from your crown, or you're losing like lot of hair per day, and that is decreasing your density.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
need to find out the reason, like what is happening, and then accordingly treat it.
Mhm.
Somebody who is losing lot of hair because of nutritional deficiency, or say because of stress, or say there was some kind of like physical stress, you were ill for a few days, you had long-term fever, or you were on medication
Mhm.
for long term,
Mhm.
and you start getting hair loss, hair fall, say 3-4 months later. So that's a stress induced response
Of the body.
and that gets recovered. You
Right.
just need to supply proper nutrition for the newer hair growth. So your hair needs protein, and hair needs those multivitamins to grow. So if you take care of your protein intake and you're eating properly and everything, it gets reversed. It comes back.
Okay.
So that's a different thing versus your hairline going back.
Right. So what you're saying is that hair loss because of deficiency of certain vitamins and essential minerals in the body can be regained once
Yes.
those essential vitamins
Yes.
and minerals are recompensated in the body.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But when someone suffers from a problem like a autoimmune problem that you said,
Yes.
that has to be treated,
Yes.
and
By a dermatologist.
no matter how good the diet is, it
Yes.
is not going to help. It is
Yes.
only the medication
Yes.
which will help.
Yes, true.
Okay. So again, when it comes to male pattern baldness or any women losing their hair, one should not self-medicate. There is no way, because इतनी सारी myths है
True.
डॉक्टर सोनल. लोग बोलते हैं कि आप तेल डालें हर रोज रात को. कोई बोलता है कि आप प्याज का जूस लगाएं, onion juice, that will kind of reactivate the dead cells and it will stimulate hair growth. And now there are companies, in fact there are oil companies and companies which make shampoo, जो ये claim करते हैं हाँ जी कि उन्होंने onion का juice डाला हुआ है उसमें. तो
see, there are no studies done on this. It's like anecdotal report. किसी ने बोला कि अनियन ऑयल लगाया मैंने 3 महीना, मेरे बाल झड़ना बंद हो गए. पर वो 3 महीने पे वैसे भी बाल झड़ने बंद होने वाले थे. As I explained you कि वो 3, suppose there is some stressful stimuli.
Right.
You were ill for 7 days. You had dengue. You had malaria, right? And you start losing hair after 3 months. Now that thing goes on for 3-4 months and then it stops.
Oh,
so
right.
if you applied onion oil at that point of time for next 3-4 months and then you see that okay, now the hair fall is less, it was any which way is going to stop.
Okay.
So it's because of hair growth is in a particular cycle. So there's a growing phase, there is a resting phase, there's a falling phase. Okay. And so it's a myth. Again, there are certain research that we have seen online about the onion oil, but it's still not substantial enough to prove that it works.
Okay. So are there any vitamins, like for example vitamin D3, B12, they say vitamin E is very good for the skin. Would you recommend any vitamins or any foods which will keep the hair strong, which will keep the quality of hair good, and which will kind of
healthy
hair, and which will also push the the balding process impossible. Yeah.
You can include protein powders in your daily routine. One. And second, dried like nuts like almond, walnut, dates. These have all those essential nutrients and vitamins to support hair growth. So you include those things in your diet, daily routine, and that's enough. Of course, apart from the fruits and vegetables that you have to take every day as your normal healthy diet, and that's enough.
Okay. What role does oil, especially coconut oil, play in maintaining the quality of hair and sometimes reversing hair fall? Because our grandmoms and moms always told us that one should apply oil. What is the scientific reasoning?
So oil per se is not going to penetrate in your scalp. Okay, so whatever oil application you're doing, it stays on your scalp and on your hair. So for the hair, it's beneficial because it gives a conditioning effect, right? So if you oil your hair and then you wash your hair, you'll feel it's much smoother, manageable. But oil per se is not going to penetrate in your scalp, and that's not going to prevent hair fall.
Okay.
The other reason that it could be beneficial, because when you apply oil, you massage your scalp. And that is when the blood circulation increases. And that could have a role in helping with the hair fall
Okay, so
rather than oil
it could stop
itself.
hair from falling, or it could
Mm,
reverse?
Not really.
Not
No,
really.
no,
Not possible.
no.
Okay, okay. So this whole thing about applying oil is very cultural,
Yes.
yeah, in our
yes,
country,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Right. But there is no scientific backing to this claim.
No.
Okay. At the most, you're saying that there could be blood circulation, because when somebody
Yeah, it's
massages
not. Hmm.
the scalp, there is a good amount of blood that circulates.
And that helps bring the nutrition to the hair, and that helps.
That helps.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Okay.
oil, because it's very large in its molecular weight, it cannot penetrate.
So scientifically, it is not possible for the oil to penetrate our scalps.
Hmm.
Okay, this is a great insight that you are giving. Okay. There's this thing amongst boys especially, कि मेरे बाल गिर रहे हैं और अभी मैं भी गंजा हो जाऊंगा, and तो there's this hack that all boys and guys do, कि तू एक बार जा और तेरे सारे बाल कटवा दे, go completely bald. Or once you go bald, then there will be new hair growth. Is there any science behind this?
It's a big misconception.
Okay.
Okay. So your hair grows from your hair root, which is
Okay.
deep inside your scalp.
Okay.
Now, when you cut or you shave your hair from your head,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to make any difference
Okay.
in the hair growth pattern.
Okay.
So that doesn't happen. It's a big misconception.
Mm-hmm.
Only difference that you feel is because you're cutting it at this level, because the hair, suppose you take this hair strand, it's thicker here and it's thinner by the time it comes here. So when you cut it at this point, you feel it's thicker.
Right.
But it's a perception.
Okay.
It's actually the shaving thing is not changing anything in your hair.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay. So this is a myth.
Yes, completely myth.
It is a
There's
complete
no-
myth.
yes.
It is a misnomer.
Yeah.
तो जो भी थोड़े बहुत गंजे हो गए हैं या होने की शुरुआत हुई है, आप लोग अपने बाल ना कटवाएं, क्योंकि डॉक्टर सोनल का ये बोलना है कि बाल कटवाने से, और अगर आप पूरे गंजे हो भी जाएंगे, तो आपको नए बाल नहीं उगने वाले.
Yeah.
Would you also want to share a few other myths which people do for their skin and hair care? Which are a part of our culture, or the grandmom remedies as they are called.
Okay. So I'll share a very interesting thing that happened recently with me.
Mhm.
So I took my son for a haircut
Mhm.
in a salon.
Mhm.
And the guy who was cutting the hair, he said, you should ideally not be growing, so long hair specifically for the children, because it takes up all the protein and calcium from your body. Okay.
Does turmeric rejuvenate the skin cells? Also, if somebody undergoes a process of exfoliation and then applies turmeric, will the new skin that comes after exfoliation, will that be better because of turmeric application?
It's not turmeric. Suppose you exfoliate your skin, new skin that comes up is going to be better. So there are certain turmeric extracts. Curcumin is one of the extracts
so that is
used in the skin creams and everything, and then that works better.
That's the active ingredient. Okay.
Yes. So if you apply turmeric, it's not always going to help. Versus you apply the right thing that is extracted from turmeric, and that works. So it's not like turmeric is a total no, but it's not that foolproof solution, I would say.
Right. Also, the quantum of turmeric is very important. Right. So, when we talk about dermatology, there is this new thing which has, I think in the last 7-8 years, this new thing that I'm going to talk about has become very popular. And earlier it was the media personalities like actors and people who always remained in the spotlight went for it today a normal individual also goes for cosmetic dermatology. So please throw some light on what is cosmetic dermatology, and some of the most sought after procedures.
Okay. So cosmetic dermatology is basically you don't have a skin issue, you don't have any skin disease per se,
Okay.
but you want to enhance your
Okay.
skin, or you
Okay.
want to make it better than what it is.
Okay.
You want beautification.
Okay.
So all that is called aesthetic dermatology.
Okay.
Now the most sought after things or the
Hmm.
procedures that nowadays we do, it starts from as simple as peels, chemical peels.
Okay.
We apply a particular solution on your face, keep it for a few minutes, take it off, and then it works on your pigmentation. It exfoliates the dead skin layer of your skin, so the
Mhm.
new skin that comes looks more radiant and more fresh,
Mhm.
right? Less pigmented.
Mhm.
So then there are laser treatments that are being done for the same purpose, skin rejuvenations.
Okay.
It works on uneven skin tone. It works for pigmentation. Then there are anti-aging treatment. As you said, it was initially only those who are in front of camera, they needed it.
The
But
media
nowadays,
personalities,
media
yeah.
persons. But nowadays, people want to do it. Everybody wants to look
Young, correct.
Everybody wants their best selfie profiles.
Correct.
So that's the reason that these treatments are like nowadays becoming more trending. Anti-aging treatment, again, it depends from Botox to fillers to non-invasive, like non-injectable treatment. So there are certain
Okay.
anti-aging treatments that we do with machines. So it's called radio frequency skin tightening.
What is microdermabrasion?
Abrasion. So microdermabrasion is a skin exfoliation, a
Okay.
controlled way of skin exfoliation.
Okay.
Instead of so if you know scrubs, how they
Yeah,
work, you
yeah.
rub it on your skin to
Yeah.
exfoliate the dead skin layer.
Yeah.
But this is a better option, because we know the control. It's a control exfoliation. It will not be so harsh on your skin. It will not give you those rashes that the scrub can give.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a simple dead skin exfoliation procedure.
Okay. So, Dr. Sonal, when these treatments were not discovered or invented, how did our skin exfoliate naturally?
So your skin exfoliate. There is a skin cycle. So
Right.
you get new skin every 28 days.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever dead skin layer is there, it gets exfoliated. Like it just falls off, and there's a new skin. So that keeps happening.
Okay.
With age, what happens? That cycle goes a little slower.
Okay.
So that's the reason you start seeing fine lines. You feel your skin is looking dull because of that dead skin layer built up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do these procedures, you suddenly feel, okay, my skin is looking fresh. So that's because you got rid of those dead skin layer with those procedures. So when you are young, your skin is different versus when you're old.
Correct.
So there are a lot of skin changes that happen. Your collagen in the skin goes down. Your skin is not making enough
Can you
collagen.
explain what is collagen? Because I know there are collagen supplements which people
Yes.
take.
So collagen is basically a part of your skin that maintains the youthfulness of your skin.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when you are young, you have lot of collagen in your skin.
Mhm.
And with age, what happens? Your skin produces less and less collagen.
Mhm.
So how we age, your body organs also does that, right? It responds slowly. It functions slowly eventually. Same way with skin also that happens, that collagen builds little at slower rate than the younger skin.
Mhm.
So that's the reason of skin aging.
Okay.
Collagen come ho gaya, your skin will look aged.
Okay.
Now, all the procedures that we do as a part of anti-aging, like few of them are targeted at collagen. We
Okay.
want to make and build more collagen in your skin to make it look younger and better.
Are there any foods which have collagen in them?
It's only a non-vegetarian source.
Oh, this comes as a surprise because this means that people who are meat eaters, they have better skin in their old age because they are eating foods which naturally have collagen in them.
Actually, whatever collagen is going in your system, it is not absorbed as it is and going and sitting in your skin. So it's not like that.
Okay.
probably the protein and the quality of the protein and everything that they are taking, that could be the reason, but
Mhm.
it's not the collagen per se.
Okay.
Now, when I said non-veg source is like the collagen supplements that are available in the market right now
Mhm.
are there's no vegetarian source of either. It's marine collagen
So
or
marine means it comes from fish.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and again, whatever collagen, marine collagen also, whatever you take, it's not that that collagen, same collagen will go and sit in your skin and give you like very younger looking skin. It has a role in hydration per se, yes, but
Mhm.
not as a anti-aging benefit per as such.
No.
No,
Okay.
it's again a very hyped molecule as of now. Maybe few years down the line, we'll have something substantial about it.
Again, what you're
It's a
saying is that
yes,
a lot of substantial research
yeah,
still needs to be done.
yes.
Oh. Most of the things, most of the supplements that people consume, there is no foolproof backing or conclusive scientific evidence which supports the role of that supplement, in benefiting
Yes,
the human body. So everything is still in its very beginning or in its nascent stage.
yes.
Okay. So while you were talking about collagen, you spoke about hydration. What role does hydration, play in the health of the skin and hair both? And how do you determine the level of hydration in an individual's body? So my question is, to put it simply, कितना पानी पीना चाहिए?
Mhm.
और क्या सिर्फ पानी से हमारी जो हाइड्रेशन की रिक्वायरमेंट है वो पूरी हो जाती है?
Yes, your body requirement, you take 2 to 3 liters of water per day, more than two, of course, around 3 liters per day, and that's
Mhm.
good enough. But for the skin, it's not just water intake. It will depend on your skin type.
Okay.
If you have like very dry skin, you will need to apply a moisturizer regularly to keep it hydrated.
Oh, that is what is meant by hydration.
Yes, so
Okay.
it depends on your skin type also.
Mhm.
And it's not that okay, if you take enough water you don't need moisturizer. No, you need
It doesn't
to.
work that way.
It's
So
not.
if someone is taking water, then coconut water, which has all the
It does
electrolytes,
help. Yes,
it helps.
it does help, but it's not the only thing that suffices.
Okay.
So
Okay.
suppose you have like very you're not taking enough water intake, automatically your skin will look dull and dehydrated.
Okay.
Okay, but then if you have dry skin also, you will need moisturizer also along with the water intake.
Okay. So it is not only sufficient to rehydrate yourself, but also some external applications are required.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Okay. So, we were talking about cosmetic dermatology, and Botox is something which is again very common. I see a lot of youngsters these days, a lot of young girls, getting Botox. My question to you is, does Botox have any side effects?
When it is injected in an appropriate dose and where it was supposed to be injected,
Uh-huh.
it will not give you any side effect.
Okay.
It's very specific in its action.
Mhm.
So it's basically a muscle relaxant.
Okay.
Okay. So when you smile and you get these wrinkles here,
Mhm.
and when you inject Botox and then when you smile, you'll not see those wrinkles. So
Correct.
because it has relaxed this muscle here.
Okay.
Same way it goes on for forehead lines,
Okay.
frown lines. You have this very prominent muscle and you look angry all the time, and you put that Botox, you look relaxed.
Correct.
So when it's done right way, it's not going to give you any systemic side effects.
Mhm.
Because the dosage that we use is very little as
Okay.
compared to what a systemic side effect can happen with a very high dose one.
Okay.
Sometimes it goes into a nearby muscle that we don't want, but it can still go. And that is when you get a temporary side effect, which is reversible.
Which is
See,
reversible.
Botox, any which ways, will last only for 3 to 4 months. 4 months is the max, right? 3 months, and the action reverses. You'll get back your wrinkles again.
Okay, then you again have
You
to
have
take
to
that
repeat
Botox
it.
shot.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not like it will give you any permanent side effect.
Okay, because I was reading
It
somewhere that
reverses.
right. So I was reading somewhere that when a person keeps on taking Botox shots every now and then, the facial muscle, okay, tends to get weaker, and it also kind of goes into that dormant mode because there is a muscle memory, and the muscle starts thinking that it doesn't have to function. So is that correct?
So Botox का काम ही वही है, to relax the muscle.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
when you keep taking it, why are we putting it on the first place is we don't want that muscle to contract and give you those wrinkles. So that's the thing.
Mhm.
But long term, any permanent side effect because of that is not going to happen. As I said, it's very specific in its action. It is just not allowing that part of the muscle to contract.
Right.
So as you said, right, कि वो function नहीं करेगा. But that's the whole point
Okay.
that we have put it there.
ओके जब कॉस्मेटिक डर्मेटोलॉजी की बात होती है तो एक लेटेस्ट ट्रेंड बना हुआ है जहाँ पे लोग फोटो रिजुविनेशन ट्रीटमेंट करवाते हैं जिसे IPL भी कहते हैं. ये क्या है डॉक्टर सोनल?
So it's a light-based treatment basically, and it acts on your skin to build up more collagen. It reduces the pigmentation. It
Okay.
gives, it basically stimulates your skin cells. The light.
Okay.
It's called intense pulsed light.
Okay.
And it does help. It has its own benefits. And
does it have side effects also?
If it is not done by a person who is well trained enough, then it can sometimes give you burns or something, but not like a permanent one. It can be corrected by a dermatologist if at all anything happens after it. So
Okay.
sometimes you can get the redness after the session, or when it is like when there's some really big error that has happened and that can give you skin burns, but then that can be corrected.
So, Dr. Sonal, you're making a very pertinent point that any kind of cosmetic dermatology treatments that we do should be strictly done under a medical professional who is fully qualified and equipped to do
Yes.
it, just to avoid any kind of side effects or any kind of errors
Yes, complications.
or
Yes.
complications.
Yes.
There is something which is called as fillers. And again, a lot of young people, go for that. What is it?
So filler is basically hyaluronic acid gel
Okay.
preparation, and that we inject in your skin, on your face where it is required. So suppose we see volume loss. You've lost weight. The fat on your face has gone, and we want to replace it.
Okay.
So that is when we can put fillers. So it's more of an anti-aging treatment, because with age what happens is your skin is sagging, your face looks saggy, you want that lifted look, you want lifted cheek. So that is when we put fillers on those particular points to give you that younger looking face.
A lot of actors do this.
Yes, because they have to look young. So that's the thing.
Okay.
A lot of common people will also go for it. It's not that common still as compared to the Western countries. In India, people are still getting aware about it, and yes, they are doing it. And it is mainly for the volume loss. We say volume loss, like, the fat has gone down like this, or you want this cheek lift.
So when a person ages, there is muscle loss. Okay, but there is also volume loss on the face.
So with age, your skin changes. There is fat below your skin. That also changes. There is muscle. There is bone. Everything changes with age. Okay. So that's the reason you look saggy.
Okay.
And when we want to work on that to make it little less saggy, that is when we used fillers. Of course, it's combined with other treatments also, anti-aging treatments.
Okay.
Like skin tightening, high intensity focused ultrasound, again, that works on skin lift and skin tightening. So it's a combination procedure, mainly as an anti-aging. Sometimes when you have this under eye hollowness, you see it as dark circle.
Mhm.
But that's more of because of the depression here,
Mhm.
and that gives you that shadowing effect.
Okay.
And that is also the place where we put filler.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's when it is done in a right way and in a right quantity, you can't make out that something is being done.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
not that filler is always bad. It will make you look plastic. It will make you look artificial. It's not like that.
Okay.
If it's done in the right way at the right place, it will look natural. It will enhance your features. It will
Mhm.
look natural.
Mhm.
So yes, that's the thing.
Okay. And does it have any side effects?
Filler, see, where we put filler, it stays there. Okay, but if it goes into a blood vessel,
Hmm.
or it sits on a blood vessel and it compresses the blood vessel,
Mhm.
that is when it creates complication.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there, and we get to know it immediately if at all that happens, and then we can dissolve it. Like there is something called as hyaluronidase that dilutes or dissolves the filler.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
filler effect can be reversed.
Okay.
So there are people who do it, like they do the filler, they don't like the results, and they feel they're looking plumpy, artificial. They get dissolved.
Mhm.
So that also happens.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you are doing it from a person who is well trained, I think you'll get like very natural and beautiful results.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Sonal, you are a dermat, and I shouldn't be telling you this, but we Indians are obsessed with white skin. किसी को काला लगना ही नहीं है. A lot of commercials that we see on TV,
Yes.
and ads that we see in the newspapers, ads of soaps, white creams, which will, when you apply on the skin, they will make you look more white and bright and whatnot. So these days there is a chemical which people use for skin whitening. Which is that chemical? And it is again a very popular treatment in the West and also here in India now. And a lot of people are just doing it for the sake of doing it. So which is that chemical, and what do you think are its implications when someone who's wheatish or doesn't need to do skin whitening and does it? Will it have any long-term repercussions on his skin?
Okay. So glutathione, that is what is the
Glutathione, yes.
that's the chemical. Now people are using it for skin whitening purpose, but it's not a foolproof thing. In the sense, whatever results you are getting after taking glutathione are not going to stay forever.
Mhm.
Till the time you take glutathione, you'll see the benefits because
Okay.
it's a strong antioxidant.
Okay.
Okay, so that helps in reducing the melanin production in your skin. And that's the reason you see that brightness in your skin, or the radiant or healthy looking skin, refreshed skin after taking glutathione supplements.
Mhm.
You cannot permanently change your skin tone. Your skin tone is genetically decided. Whatever tanning or anything that has happened because of sun exposure, everything can be reversed with proper skincare and everything. Glutathione helps there also. But if you say that, okay, you are wheatish, you are darker, and you want to change your skin tone, it cannot happen. The glutathione does that, but again, it's a temporary benefit. Till the time you take it, you will see that effect.
Mhm.
That, okay, your skin looks little better, little
Mhm.
brighter, little
Mhm.
lighter.
Mhm.
But the moment you stop it, the effects get reversed because it's genetic.
Right. So what you're saying is that because the skin complexion that people have is genetical, even if one takes these supplements temporarily, there might be some whitening,
Yes.
but eventually the skin will return to its original form.
Yes.
Okay. And again, these supplements that people take. So glutathione is taken as a supplement, or it is also injected in the skin?
It is available in both the forms, oral and injectable. So when you take oral, we do not know the amount of absorption that is happening. So
Mhm.
it varies from person to person.
Mhm.
IV will act better in that way because the absorption is highest with that form. It's not permanent, the results.
This also goes to show the kind of society that we are living in.
Yes.
You know,
And that obsession with fairness.
obsession with fairness, obsession with looking good, and to such an extent that
That
one
they're
is ready
Yeah.
to take this risk of
Yes.
ingesting a
Mhm.
chemical where the effects of what that chemical can do in the longer run are not known.
Yes, true. So
As you said, it is not
Yeah.
FDA approved. Oh my God, this is a real cause of concern. But what would you do if if you have a patient who tells you that he wants to take this supplement or any supplement which is not approved by FDA?
see, in Indian markets, there are so many things available as it is. So
Mhm.
even if I do not give it, it's available online.
Mhm.
People will take it.
Mhm.
And it's an informed decision from the patient's side that
Mhm.
they want to take it.
Mhm.
See, it's not that glutathione is harmful as per. It's an antioxidant. It works. But when you say that I want to lighten my skin tone and I want to take that glutathione, that is when I would say no.
Right.
Right. So glutathione is available as an antioxidant combination. It's available with like glutathione, vitamin C, and there are other antioxidant that's a mix as a multivitamin available. That is given as an antioxidant to protect your skin from inside and not as a skin whitening thing.
So net what you're saying is that one should be careful
Yes.
and
let's not just follow the trend.
One should not get carried away by what people are saying.
Yes.
Dr. Sonal, it was a lovely conversation that we had. And I'm sure that the viewers are going to find this very helpful because all the things that you said were so insightful and enlightening. You have cleared so many doubts regarding skin, hair, and other health related problems which are reflected through skin. It was very nice of you to come here and do this podcast, and we look forward to having you again sometime in the future with other questions.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you also do a lot of research. So next time when you come on our podcast, you will have new things to share with our audience.
Sure.
Thank you once again.
So thank you for having me here today. It was a wonderful experience recording this, and also I enjoyed your questions because there are a lot of misconceptions that people have, and it's important that they have right information, and that is what you're trying to do through your podcast.
Correct.
And that's a great idea. And again, I would suggest that people should go to a qualified dermatologist for any of their skin, hair, or nail diseases or any issues, because they are the right person to treat your skin, hair, and nails. Again, for the cosmetic treatments, also just do not follow the trends. Okay, the trends will come and go. Follow the research proven or scientifically proven things, because that is going to help you in long run. It will not give you side effects. And anything that you see on Instagram, any influencer talking about all these supplements or any skin treatments are not true always. So just take guidance from the right qualified person.
Perfect.
That's my message for those who are going to hear this podcast.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much for all your time once again, and we'll see you soon.